you for joining me this morning. I welcome and really appreciate you being willing to talk about your experiences with person-centered planning and for being here. You know, person-centered planning is a term that we hear a lot. Sometimes it's a little bit confusing because some people confuse their annual assessment with person-centered planning, but that's a different kind of thing. Person-centered planning is really about bringing together people that love and care about their person with disabilities to dream. And that having a facilitator to help that process is a wonderful thing to do. For myself as a parent, I've found that so often the system, whether it's school or kind of the system in general, is so focused on the disability that sometimes the beauty of our loved one kind of gets lost. And person-centered planning really focuses again on seeing them and the gifts that they bring. And I've seen families where that can be the first time they've really ever heard the positives about their loved one, because, you know, it's always about, you know, the negative and the dis part rather than the ability. And I think it really changes your perspective about individuals and who they are and what they bring and what's possible. What was the main goal for your person-centered plan? Anyone want to share?
Ours was around housing and Ben leaving our family home. And he had just finished his adult transition program. He was working, and he started to really feel more strongly that he wanted to be able to move out like some of his cousins had, and the kids that he went to high school with who had gone to college, and he was a little older than they were. And I certainly didn't know how to really begin that. You know, I started thinking about the process and what it might involve, and knowing it would be a huge thing for him to leave our home. And I really didn't know what to do about that because I spent all my focus on employment.
Rita, where were you in your journey when you came to person-centered planning? What were you hoping to learn and have from your person-centered plan?
So my son was already working at Walgreens, and he wanted to switch to an entry-level accounting job, an office job. That is a big switch.
Yes.
He's more of an outdoorsy guy, so helping him out to work in an office setting seemed to be close to impossible. And then I spoke to my son's DDA case manager, and she said that one of the DDA waivers is going to fund that too. That's even better.
Yes.
And that's how I got into PCP.
Wonderful.
Yes.
That's wonderful. So you got funding through, was it maybe the Individual Family Services waiver?
Yes.
That's great. David, do you want to talk about when you first learned about person-centered planning?
Yeah, so in 2014 I had a person-centered plan done for myself, and I had had a lot of health problems and was kind of in a place where I wasn't really sure kind of where I was going, and so we had a person-centered plan done for me. So.
Did you have any concerns or surprises about it?
Well, I certainly did. In the time leading up to the official meeting, I started to realize that Ben's ideas for housing were much different than my own for him. But mostly we just really wanted him to dream, like you said. And when he started really articulating his dreams, they were for a much more independent life than I'd expected. And I really did not know how we were going to pull that off. It really ended up showing me, given that Ben wanted to live alone and not with other people, that we had to work in a very different direction than I had been going.
That he was really, he was driving
He was
that plan.
driving that bus. He was.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's surprising when sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah. Scary, kind of too.
Kind of scary too, it is. That's great. David, how did you feel about person-centered planning?
It was really great to see kind of just pages and pages of notes that showed me kind of what I could still do. So that was really important to me.
Yeah. How did you feel the first time?
So at first, I really did not have much expectations from PCP, to be honest. I did not know what to expect. I just thought all I need is some support as to where do I go next. So my expectations were low and I was nervous since I did not know what to expect. But once the PCP was laid out, my son's strengths and his barriers and his next steps and how to get things done, all in one place. It is for the first time I could see everything like a big picture. I'm a person who gets focused on one thing at a time, but to see everything in one place and being able to see the next steps was amazing.
That's
It was very helpful.
That's wonderful. So we're going to talk about the outcomes. So what was the outcome for your plan? Was the goal reached? Was there anything that you're unsure about?
I'll start. The really short story is that he's surrounded by the things that he said he really wanted in his life. You know, the way his apartment looks is his vision of who he is, and it's close to a bus line. All the things that he said were really important to him for his work, you know, they're really there.
He has a good life.
He has a good life.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. David, could you want to talk about your outcomes? The different things that came out of your person-centered plan?
Yeah, so I've, after I had my plan, I've actually reached all my goals that from my plan. It was in 2014, so, and so one of the things that came out of my plan was they said, David, I think you would be a good person-centered plan facilitator. So, and so I started doing the trainings and stuff for that in like 2016, and now I've been facilitating plans for a few years now. So it really gives the individual the voice, and that the plan is not for their support; it's for them, and that you know, whatever we put on the plan, it's coming from their voice, and it gives them, empowers them to make decisions for their life.
We're putting them at the center, right?
Yeah.
And then making everything work around it. So it's nice to make them the focus.
Yeah.
I think when we had the plan done and all his strengths were written, I remember my son telling me later, I'm good, Mom.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You feel happy about me, right? And I'm thinking, yeah, this is so good to see everything on black and white, everything written so clearly.
And I think because of the focus, that it is an opportunity for the person to really become more engaged, because they're not being told what's wrong with them or what their deficits are and what goals they have to work on to catch up and be more normal. It's more allowing them to really talk about what's important to them, goals that are important to them, where they want to go. I really saw that as being so empowering for Ben, for him to really say what he felt and to be listened to and acknowledged for what he wanted to become and have in his life.
Thank you all so much for joining me today and sharing, being willing to share your story and your heart and your path, and just appreciate it so much. Thank you for being here.
If you want to make a change in any area of your life, person-centered planning can help you create a roadmap with goals and steps to live the life you want to live. To request a facilitated person-centered plan, please contact your DDA case manager.